Hey Ann, can you let me know, where's Chris? He was supposed to be here at 11 a.m. for an interview. You don't know where he is? Alright, maybe give him a call, try to see where he is. Finally. Chris, where are you? You're supposed to be here in a minute. What? You're just telling me now? You're not going to be here? Chris, you almost here to the interview? What's that, you have an emergency? What's the emergency? It's raining outside? That's an emergency? What's that? You're not coming? But I've already traveled 45 minutes in traffic, so I made sure I was here for the interview. All right, bye for now. Not again. How's it going, guys? Today I want to do a video for the Filipinos and talk about what you should not do if you want to land a job with a foreigner, either at a company here in the Philippines or if you're looking to work freelance overseas. Let's talk.
Subscribe now.
So living here in the Philippines, I've literally done thousands of interviews of people that are potential employees here. All of them, except for just a couple rare examples, have been Filipino citizens, and I want to talk about some of the things that I found that really don't impress foreigners. So I know that there's so many of you out there that are looking to get jobs with companies that are owned by foreigners, and also there's so many of you that are working from home, wanting to be freelancers, working with people overseas. And so I want to talk about some of the things that I found are really going to be big no-nos, big turnoffs for foreigners if you want to have the opportunity to get a job with them. So first thing I would say is don't show up to interviews late. Time is so different between Western culture and Filipino culture. Unless you're living in somewhere like Hawaii in the US where it's island time, most foreigners are really literal about time. If they say something's going to start at 9 a.m. or 7 p.m., they mean 9 a.m. or 7 p.m. Those aren't kind of like guidelines like around 9 a.m. and then everybody just adds an extra hour. They literally mean the time. So people like myself that are interviewing others have really packed schedules. So normally at a company like Purple Cow, I am busy and I just have on my calendar back to back what I have to do. So when I have people that show up for interviews and we're supposed to meet at 9 a.m. as an example, and they don't show up until 9:25, I'm already into the next thing. And they've really wasted that time for me and made a terrible impression. So I would say when you're interviewing with foreigners, just understand that time is something that is very concrete, it's very literal. They don't ever want to feel like they are wasting time. Just think about, for example, if you had some pieces of gold in your hand and they were precious and worth a lot of money. And then somebody were to just take one of those and like just throw it. And they wasted your gold. Foreigners, for whatever crazy reason, I know it probably seems ridiculous, really look at time like gold, and they're just never going to want someone to waste their time. So first thing first, don't show up late. Very related, if you are going to be late, if there was truly some type of emergency that happened, let them know as soon as possible. So often, people will be late when they come to interview with me, and then they'll tell me later or even after the fact that something came up where it was a true emergency, and by that time I'm just already disappointed. I'm already thinking this isn't someone that I would trust to hire, because if they're late to an interview, how much more so if I actually hire them? So always give notice as early as possible if there is a true emergency, and people are going to understand that when it really is genuine, not an excuse. People do mostly understand that things come up. So always give as early notice as possible if you're not going to make something on time. The third thing that I would say is don't tell people that you have an emergency after something was already supposed to start. So often, probably 80% of the time that people don't show up, they tell me that them or someone close to them had some type of emergency. This is the number one excuse that I hear for why people don't show up to interviews. And after a while, it starts to get a little bit suspicious when I have 6 interviews in a day and 4 of them said that their mom got sick and they had to take them to the hospital. The reason may have been a different type of emergency. Maybe they didn't have money for the fare to travel to the meeting or something else like that that I could be more understanding of. But instead of being transparent, they gave me another emergency excuse, and I hear those so often. Just be real, just be transparent with people. And most importantly, if there is a true emergency, don't be shy to tell a foreigner what the emergency was and why you can't show up. Just do it in advance. So often I'll find out after the fact, either myself or one of our human resources will get in touch with the candidate and say, "Where were you? I had an emergency." "Well, why didn't you let us know before?" "Well, I didn't have time." But there's always time. You know, in my own life as well, I have emergencies occasionally. And if I have an interview myself with a candidate, or if it's a sales meeting with a potential client and I have an emergency, I always just take out my phone, send them a quick text message or a quick email. It literally takes 15 minutes, and you're gonna find that foreigners are gonna be far more understanding if you're just real with them what the actual emergency is. Fourth, don't come up with kind of crazy excuses. You need to understand that what Filipinos see as valid excuses and what foreigners find as valid excuses are going to be really different because the culture is so different. So here, what might be understanding might be something that just sounds a little bit crazy or very difficult to understand for a foreigner. And so it's worth really putting yourself in the shoes of the foreigner that you're trying to get a job with and make sure that your excuse sounds valid. For example, I have adults in their 20s and 30s that say, "My mom told me," or "My husband told me," or "Whoever told me that I can't come to the interview because it's raining outside." And I'll say, "Are you not waterproof?" You know, I have a whole team of employees that showed up today even though it was raining outside. So someone like that gives an excuse like that, I really think, well, if they can't show up to a job interview because it's raining, chances are they will make a similar excuse for work, and I'm just going to check them off my list as someone that wouldn't be a good fit. Other times I get excuses like, "I'm sorry, but there's so much traffic." Really? You live in the Philippines in a city and you didn't know there was traffic? There's traffic every day of the week here. And so people are really going to know that there's traffic in advance. Not a valid excuse. I've even had people give me excuses like, "I'm really sorry, I didn't show up today. It was fiesta yesterday and I'm still hungover." Are you kidding me? You're really going to tell me that? You already knew it was going to be fiesta before we scheduled an interview today? Surely that is not a great excuse. So think through the type of excuses that you give potential employers, and chances are it's going to help you have a much better chance of success if you're not using one of these types of excuses. Going away from job interviews, which are so important, I would also say think through how you respond in post for jobs. So for example, in the Philippines, Facebook is a really popular place to post jobs, and so often people will just leave answers like "how" or "where." That's it, just one word, and you'll see 20 responses like that. Someone is not going to want to go through the time to respond to that when if they just read through the job description, they'd already know how. Chances are there's already going to be an email address in there saying send off your resume, whatever it is. Simple instructions are always going to be in job posts. And so if somebody is just simply asking how, that's going to show really a lack of initiative, and most foreigner employers are just going to pass by people that have those answers. Or asking where, just look, click on the website, click on the Facebook page. No doubt there's going to be an address there. Take the extra time to answer questions on your own, showing that you have initiative. Ask more meaningful questions that are going to impress a potential employer. Similar to this, So often we'll get emails for people that do apply for a job, and all it will be is just their email address from who it was sent from and an attachment of their resume. There's no subject line, there's no cover letter, there's nothing in the email. You just know that they're going through jobs, clicking the attach the resume button and sending them off. It's pretty simple to come up with a meaningful email that you could just change the name of the person you're sending it to and then send it off in advance. Put in the extra work and you'll find much better response rates. And last but not least, don't say yes to something that might really just be a no. So what I mean by that is that you need to be a person that keeps your word. If you say yes and you commit to something, or yes that you can do something, then make sure that it's truly a yes. In other words, be positive that whatever you're committing to is something that you could follow through on. People don't have crazy expectations too often, and it's far better to be really honest about what it is that you can do or can't do, instead of just saying yes to everything because you think that perhaps that's what the person wants to hear. Instead, if you say yes to some things and no to some others, they're going to know that you're really transparent about what is a true yes and what's a true no, and it's going to help a lot with your job efforts as well. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think I have been unfair? Are there other things that you would add to this list or look at a little bit different? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Take care.